Hey, what's up everybody? It's your boy Kendall Rodriguez here, and today we're going to talk to you a little bit about how I color correct in Final Cut Pro and how it can be useful for you and how to also save it as a preset. So here we go. Alright, so oftentimes when shooting and you get back to editing, you want to add some depth to the colors in your video and your film projects. So I'm going to show you how to color correct and save them as a preset in Final Cut Pro. Now I'm making this video to help you make better content so your videos can have a nice, more consistent look across the board. Alright, so let's go ahead and open up Final Cut Pro X, and what we're going to do is create a new project. For this, we're going to open a project at the standard 1920 by 80 by 1080 at 23.98 frames per second, or P, and I'm going to be doing it in Apple ProRes 422. And so now the project is open in the timeline. As you can see down here, timeline is blank, and I'm going to select the clip. I'm going to drag the clip to the timeline. I'm going to drag this entire 40-second clip here all the way down to the timeline. And now it's in the timeline, and you may notice that you may have either shot in a profile that doesn't have too much contrast, and to me, I prefer to have a little bit more punch in my footage. And again, that's just my preference. So if you notice that you have some police investigators, I'm just go ahead and play this clip. You notice you have some police investigators and their suits seem to be just a little bit bland. I want to kind of punch the color up just a little bit. It looks okay, but I want to give it a better look and kind of feel here, and that way it can look to my liking. Now I'm not judging the color, I'm not judging the style of how these detectives are dressed or anything like that. It's just my personal preference of how I want the overall scene to look. So let's move the mouse to the top right of the screen over to the inspector. Now, if your inspector is not visible, there are two things you can do. You can hit the command key and the number 4, make the inspector visible. And if you look to the right of the film strip that's right over here in the upper right hand corner, you're going to see a triangle icon, and that is the color inspector. You want to go ahead and click on that. Now once the color inspector is up, you're going to see some dials here for the exposure, saturation, and color. And the exposure and saturation are quite simple to manipulate. You have 3 controls here from left to right. You have your shadows, your midtones, and your highlights. And first, I want to take a look at my shadows since it's somewhat relative to how it affects the contrast. So we're just going to bump the shadows down. As we notice, we bring the shadows up in the exposure. As we go over to the far left, there's the black circle right here. You're going to notice that it makes it a little lighter. So if we bring it down, it actually brings the shadows up. It kind of brings the blacks up, the darker colors in the scene. It makes them a little bit more darker. And I'm okay with that. I like that. That's what I like. I like to have a little punchiness in the colors here. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually make another adjustment over in my midtones and see how that affects it a little bit. And this is all trial and error. There's really no set way to do it. You just don't want to do too much of it. Alright, so I'm gonna adjust my midtones and my exposure just a little bit. It really doesn't really have too much of an effect. The scene I think is pretty well lit, so I really don't need to make too much of an adjustment. I'm also going to make another adjustment here to my exposure, to my highlight exposure here. Bring that up a little bit, and don't really need to. Alright, so let's move over to the saturation and see how that affects the scene also. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to my shadows and see how that affects it a little bit. Not too much of an effect, but let's go over to the midtones. Now the midtones, let's see what happens there. Not too much is happening there, so we do see a little bit more. If you look over at this investigator over here to our left, he is his color in his skin here is actually getting a little bit more deeper, and I'm going to kind of bring that down just a little bit. We want to kind of keep it true to life, but we want to make it a little bit more punchier. All right. So let's see if we can bring the saturation up in the shadows just a little bit. It makes the reds just pop out just a little bit more. And let's bring that up there too. And that's probably all we really need to do. I also want to let you know, so if you have a poorly lit and exposed scene or video, the end result may not look as great. So keep that in mind. So remember to always get it right the first time when you're shooting. So now I think that's all the adjustments we need to make. So let's go ahead and try to save this as a preset. So what we're going to do, we're going to go over here to Save Effects Preset. Now it's going to bring up a window, Save Color Effects Preset. And I'm going to go ahead and name it. It's already highlighted right here at the top. And I'm going to name it NYPD Crash. Now I'm naming it that just so that it's easy for me to find if ever I needed to come back to it and I need to adjust or color correct any additional scenes that I may want to add to this entire timeline, so I don't have to go back into the color inspector and make any of those changes one by one. It kind of speeds up my workflow just a little bit. It's just a real time saver, and you can save it for later use if you want. And so I'm going to go ahead and save it, and it's going to go into the category Basics, or you can create a new category, which is what I'll do, and I'll just have it saved as my presets. And then we create it and we save it. Now if we scroll down, we're going to see that the folder My Presets was created. We're going to look right over there and we're going to see NYPD Crash. And there it is. Now keep in mind, make sure that when you add your color correction and your color correction presets, that you don't add it twice. So don't make the mistake of adding more color correction to what you have already done, or else your colors are going to start to look a little off. So, and as you can see, that's how you create a preset. You can use it as many times as you like. You can even use it for other projects, and you can make adjustments as you see fit. And so that's it for this tutorial. Let me know if you like this video by giving it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more content like this, leave a comment down below. Subscribe to my channel and hit that notification button or bell to get that update the next time I upload. And always remember to shoot every day, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.